You've entered the Red Light Files. Welcome back. I hope you're doing well, wherever you are, in whatever time it is. Tonight, I've gathered a few stories that left me feeling unsettled. Real encounters, shared by people who were just living their normal lives until something changed. Let's get into it.
Story 1.
The man who came back every night.
This happened last winter, and I haven't told anyone outside of Reddit because I know how it sounds. But it's been eating at me. I can't keep pretending it didn't happen. I live alone in a small apartment on the second floor of a pretty average building. The kind of place where no one really knows their neighbors, but everyone nods in the hallway. I'm in my early 30s, work remotely, and I don't go out much, so I'm usually home every night, watching TV or reading near the window. That window became a problem. It started on a Wednesday night, around 11:30 p.m. I was watching an old episode of The X-Files when I felt like I was being watched. You know that weird sixth sense feeling? I brushed it off at first. Then I looked outside. Across the street, directly under a streetlight, was a man. Not walking. Not talking. Just standing there. Facing my window. I remember freezing for a second, then laughing nervously like, okay, creepy, but maybe he's waiting for someone. Except he didn't move. He stayed there for 10 minutes. Then 20. Then he turned around and walked away. I barely slept that night. Night 2. The next night, same time, he was back. Same spot. Same posture. Same direction, facing my window. I turned off all the lights in my apartment and crouched down by the edge of the frame, just watching him. He never moved. Not even a twitch. At exactly 12:03 a.m., he walked away again. That specific time stuck with me. It wasn't random. I checked the clock 3 times to be sure. I tried telling myself maybe it was just some guy who liked to walk at night. Maybe I was overthinking. Night 4, yes, I skipped a night to sleep elsewhere. I stayed at my sister's the 3rd night just to test myself. Nothing weird. No texts. No dreams. No unease. But curiosity got the best of me, and I came back the next day. I waited at the window with all the lights off, TV on mute. Sure enough, 11:30 p.m., there he was. Only this time, he was closer. Not on the other side of the street, on my side. Still standing under the same streetlight, but now about 15 feet closer. It wasn't until I zoomed in with my phone camera that I noticed. He wasn't just facing my window. He was looking up. Right at me. I called the police. That night I called the non-emergency line. An officer came out, did a sweep of the area, didn't find anyone. Said maybe it was a neighbor or transient. I showed him the video. He said there wasn't enough detail to identify the person and suggested closing my blinds. Which, yeah, not helpful. The next 2 nights, I left the blinds closed. And guess what? He didn't show up. So I tested it. I know this sounds reckless, but I needed to be sure. I opened the blinds again on the 6th night. He came back. Not only that, he was standing even closer now. Just on the edge of the sidewalk across from my building. 1 foot forward, like he was about to cross. Again, no movement. No sound. I reported it again. The police didn't come this time. Said unless the guy did something threatening, there wasn't much they could do. So I installed a camera on my windowsill. Motion activated. Night vision. The works. The footage. First 2 nights, nothing. Which made no sense, because I saw him with my own eyes. On the 3rd night, the footage finally triggered. There was a still frame, just one, where you could see a figure. But it was blurry, almost like static or distortion around his body. Like he wasn't fully there. That freaked me out. I stopped watching the window. But he didn't stop coming. I know because I started hearing things. Light tapping on the glass around midnight. soft footsteps in the hallway that stopped outside my door. Once, I swear I heard breathing behind the wall near my bed. The final night. This is what pushed me over the edge. I woke up at 3:12 a.m. to the sound of my apartment door clicking shut. Not opening, shutting. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept under my bed and swept the apartment. Nothing. Door locked. Windows closed. No signs of forced entry. Except, on my kitchen table, sitting right in the center, was a folded piece of paper. It said, "You stopped looking. I never left." That was 3 weeks ago. I moved out 2 days later. Haven't told the landlord why. And every night since then, I keep waking up at 12:03 a.m. Just in case. Story 2.
The room that wasn't on the blueprints.
I bought my first house 6 months ago. It was a fixer-upper in a quiet neighborhood, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, old hardwood floors, and a backyard with just enough space for a dog. Nothing too fancy, but it felt like mine. I got it at a good price because it had been sitting unsold for over a year. The realtor didn't say much, just that the previous owner passed away and the family wanted to let it go quickly. I moved in within a week. Spent the first few days cleaning, painting, and getting used to the creaks and sounds of an old home. But there's something in this house that no one mentioned. A room that shouldn't exist. The back wall. I first noticed something was off when I tried to measure space for a new bookcase. There was this one wall in the hallway that didn't line up with the room dimensions. It jutted out slightly, as if there was something behind it. I checked the blueprints. Downloaded them from the county website. According to those, the wall should have been flush with the bedroom next to it. No cavities, no closets. But it wasn't. There was at least 3 feet of space unaccounted for. I tapped on the wall. Hollow. I measured the wall thickness on the opposite side, normal. This one? Too thick. I thought maybe it was just bad construction. Older houses are full of weird framing and drywall mistakes. But I couldn't let it go. Something about that space felt wrong. Like it was deliberately sealed. I found the seam. One night, while I was watching TV, I paused randomly and stared at the hallway. That damn wall. I walked up to it with a flashlight and started looking closer. There, behind an old framed photo left by the last owner, was a fine vertical seam. Barely noticeable unless you were inches from it. I followed it down and found another near the baseboard. It was a door frame. Hidden. Seamless. And it was nailed shut. Opening it. It took me 2 days to work up the nerve. I pulled out my hammer, pried the baseboard off, and started working on the nails. Whoever sealed it did a good job, thick nails, deep set. Eventually, the wall creaked open like a door. Dust spilled out. The room was small, maybe 6 by 8 feet. There were no windows. No ventilation. Just concrete walls, a single bare mattress, and a light bulb hanging from the ceiling. And the smell. It was a mix of mildew, rust, and something like burnt plastic. I didn't step inside. Just stood there, breathing shallowly, staring at what shouldn't exist. On the far wall was something scratched into the plaster. A tally system. Hundreds of marks. Some vertical, others slashed across. And beside that, written in what looked like charcoal, or worse, were 4 words. I never stopped counting. No records, no clues. I tried finding out more. Asked neighbors. One old woman next door said the previous owner lived alone. Quiet man, she said. Didn't have many visitors. No one mentioned renovations. No one knew about the extra room. I contacted the realtor. She said she had no idea. Assumed the house only had the listed rooms. I checked every document I had. Nothing about a sealed chamber. Nothing about room dimensions being altered. The blueprints were clean. Too clean. The footsteps. After I found the room, things changed. Every night after midnight, I'd hear soft footsteps in the hallway. Like someone walking from the back of the house to that wall. But they'd stop, right in front of the sealed frame. Except it's not sealed anymore. One night, I left the door slightly open by mistake. Just a crack. Enough to see inside if you walked by. Around 12:15 a.m., I was lying in bed when I heard the footsteps. The sound of light tapping on the wooden floor. I stayed frozen. Listening. They stopped. I held my breath. Then I heard the sound of the door creaking shut. When I got up in the morning, it was closed all the way. I hadn't moved. The message on the wall. This morning, yes, this morning, I checked inside again. The tally marks were still there. The mattress still dusty. But the words on the wall had changed. Now they read. 2 of us now. I don't know what that means. I haven't told anyone. I'm writing this just in case something else happens. In case I wake up tomorrow and I'm not the only one in the house anymore. Story 3.
The girl at the bus stop.
I take the bus to work every day. Nothing exciting about that. I don't drive, and the route is simple, one straight line from my apartment complex to the city center. Takes about 40 minutes, and I usually spend it listening to podcasts and trying not to make eye contact with anyone. But back in February, something changed. Something small at first. So small I almost didn't notice. There was a girl at the bus stop. She wore a black coat, no hood. Long, dark hair. Her skin was pale, like sickly pale, and she always had a neutral expression. No headphones. No phone. She'd just stand there. Still. At first, I didn't think much of it. I figured she was just another commuter. I even gave her a polite nod once. She didn't respond. Didn't blink. I thought, okay, maybe she's just not a morning person. But then I started seeing her at night too. Same spot. Same time. She was there in the mornings, when I left for work. And she was there in the evenings, when I came home. Same posture. Same coat. Same blank stare. What started to bother me was that she was always in the exact same spot, about 2 feet from the bench, standing, never sitting. Not moving. Facing the street, but never checking for the bus. And the bus never stopped for her. Not once. That's what finally got my attention. A week had passed, and I hadn't seen her board a bus, wave one down, or speak to anyone. Yet there she was, every day, as if rooted to the sidewalk. The first time she moved. It was Friday night, around 9 p.m. I had stayed late at work and was the only one waiting at the stop. The street was empty, dark except for a few flickering lights. And she was there. But this time, when I looked at her, she turned her head. Slowly. Deliberately. Her eyes locked onto mine. I swear, I couldn't move. It wasn't fear exactly, it was like my body forgot how to respond. I blinked, and she turned her head back, like nothing had happened. The bus came 2 minutes later. I got on. She didn't. I stared at her through the window the whole way out of that block. She didn't look at the bus once. I asked around. The next Monday, I asked the driver if he knew her. He shook his head and said, "What girl?" I described her. He laughed. "No one's standing out there when I pass by. Not at your stop." I pulled out my phone to show a photo, but realized I never took one. Every time I had seen her, I had been too uncomfortable to pull out my camera. It felt wrong. Still, I started taking note of the exact times I saw her. Morning, 7:22 a.m. Night, 6:41 p.m. Every single day. One night I followed her. It was stupid, I know. But I needed to know what she was doing there. One Thursday night, I stayed on the opposite side of the street after getting off the bus. I waited behind a fence, watching her. She didn't move for 20 minutes. Then, without warning, she started walking. But she didn't walk toward a building or down the street. She walked into the alley behind the stop. No hesitation. Just disappeared into the darkness. I waited. Nothing. After another 10 minutes, I followed. I didn't go deep, just enough to see where she might have gone. There was a fence. A locked gate. No exits. But no girl either. That's when it got personal. The next night, when I got home from work, there was a folded piece of paper under my door. No name. No handwriting. Just 3 words, written in shaky block letters. You saw me. I didn't sleep that night. I checked every lock 3 times. Kept the lights on. Moved a chair in front of my door. But nothing else happened. Until the following Monday. She changed spots. For the first time since I'd seen her, she wasn't at the bus stop. She was across the street. On my side. Standing still. Same coat. Same stare. But this time she was looking directly at me when I arrived. No blinking. No movement. She stayed until my bus came. I didn't move a muscle until I was safely inside and the doors closed. But I swear, when the bus pulled away, she smiled. Not big. Not evil. Just like she knew something I didn't. Final note. I don't take that route anymore. I changed jobs. Moved to another part of the city. Haven't been back since. But just last week, a coworker who takes that same bus line said something that froze me. We were talking about weird people on public transport and she said, "There's this girl at my stop sometimes. She never gets on. Just stares." I asked her to show me the stop. It's 3 blocks from my new apartment.
If you made it this far, thanks for staying with me. Some of these stories, they stay with you longer than you'd expect. Take care of yourself out there. And as always, stay safe.